FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's 7/8/19. Wow. July is just flying right by. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We sure did. And too short as always. But anyway, back to work. So what is going on with the mindset of the American public? What are they worrying about? It seems like they're overly concerned about their financial well-being after the crash of 08-09. Who can blame you for being concerned about your financial future, your family's security, etc.? But what can you do about it? That's the question. Hey, first, remember, Bitcoin contest is on. And, well, I'm going to start referring you to a post on the site to take a look at it. Let's quickly summarize it. Entries are due 7/14 by 11:59 p.m. You must guess the price of Bitcoin. Get closer than myself. My guess is 66.50 for July 20th, midnight. And grand prize winner gets 40 pre-1965 U.S. quarters. And each of the first five runners-up will each get one. And if we get over 1,000 entries, and we've gotten a lot so far, then the grand prize will go up to 100 pre-1965 quarters, and the runner-ups will each receive 10 each. That's the first five. KL@kerrylutz.com. That's the email address. So anyway, Brad Williams is with us now, financial expert. You've heard him here many times. And, well, alarming statistics. More than half of Americans lose sleep over money. Nearly 1 in 3 lose sleep every other day. And that's pretty amazing. Or I should say, nearly 1 in 3 lose sleep over it every day. Those are alarming statistics, Brad. You losing any sleep these days?
Well, no, not really. But I've talked to a lot of people when they first come to see me who are. And, they share some common characteristics.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do here? Like, what are the characteristics? What are the common causes of this malady? It's not like you get the flu, you got a virus, and you get sick from it. It's a little more deeper and psychological than that, isn't there?
Yes, it is. And Kerry, I think it really boils down to too often people just have things happen to them. They just, yes, they're earning their money. They've got a paycheck coming in, and they may be putting away for their retirement and doing the right things, but they really don't know where they stand because they don't have a plan. And I can't tell you how many people who are just on the cusp of retirement who come in to see me for the first time, and I sit down and I go over my process, which includes a written financial plan. And they're astounded at what they see because now they're like, wow, I never knew I had that much. I never knew I could retire on that amount of money because they've never really quantified and qualified what they have, and they don't have it written down. And that's what a good advisor should be doing for their clients, is not just getting them good returns on their money, but being the coach and the pilot of their retirement.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing, as always, is having a plan, right? So how do you make a plan?
That's correct.
How do you do that?
Yeah. First thing is, how much do you make? Where is it coming from? How much do you spend, and where's it going? What have you got saved, and what have you got invested? What's it invested in? I think another common characteristics of a lot of people is they've watched the market go up and down over the last 13 or 19 years, really. And they've known what it meant to see huge drops in their retirement accounts, and they don't know what to do about it, but yet they're still in the same type of investments at 65 and 70 that they were at 40.
Mm-hmm. So this is an acknowledgement of where you are, where you've been, and where you're going.
That's it. And that's really, in a nutshell, Kerry, that's what it's all about. But what gives people peace of mind is knowing that it's in writing, that hey, I've looked at this. I see the projections. If we stay within these projections, a financial plan is not like a book. When an author finishes a book, he publishes it and that's it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now he might have other editions. He might add a chapter or something like that. But a financial plan is a living, breathing entity. It's something that needs to be addressed on a regular basis, amended, updated. It's never a final product. It is a work in progress.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like New York City. It's never finished.
Yeah. Or 285 in the city of Atlanta, which is the Beltway.
Or all of Florida. All of Florida is like that. It's never going to be done. Right. Florida will never be finished. So until it's finished, I guess.
I guess you're right.
Oh God, we just see this all over.
Yeah, and when you getting into losing sleep, people lose sleep because of unknowns. Mm. When they're dealing with unknowns, they don't relax. It's kind of like I learned a long time ago. I used to use a notepad. Now I use my iPhone because I have a notepad on it. When something comes up in the middle of the night that I know I need to address, I just go ahead and write it down. And then I'm relaxed because I know I go to my notes. I'm not going to forget it. It's not going to come bite me in the rear end in the future. I'll address it tomorrow or whenever I've designated the date to be. But I've written it down. I know when I'm going to address it and how I'm going to address it. That is what gives people sleep at night. It's the unknowns that cause them to lose sleep.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because now if you've got Alexa, you could just tell Alexa, make a note, Alexa, here I am. Or, if you remember your dreams, if you're in the middle of a dream, you could just wake up and say, Alexa, write the following, and she'll do it.
Right.
That's
right. Just hope you don't talk in your sleep because Alexa might send that to whoever you were talking about.
Well, yeah, you would have to. Don't take any Ambien, okay? Do not take Ambien and use Alexa or you will be in a world of trouble. You'll be getting shipments for the next year that you'd have no recollection that you ordered. Well, I mean, we've been in this crazy economy, this crazy world, Brad, for so long that the abnormal is starting to feel normal, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We kind of wonder, new normal is a new normal every week, and so I agree with you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one thing, you're being a financial planner consultant, you deal in solutions, right? I mean, that's what you're about.
That's correct.
And so there is no one size fits all cookie cutter solution. It's not like you're earning $75,000 a year. Here's a subdivision, go buy a house. One is pretty much the same as the next. You just decide whether you want crown molding or not. With finance, right. It's a lot different.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Today's show is brought to you by U.S. Gold Corp. U.S. Gold Corp is a U.S.-focused gold exploration and development company advancing high-potential projects in Wyoming and Nevada. U.S. Gold Corp has consolidated a district on Nevada's productive Cortex Trend and is advancing the Copper King project towards production in Wyoming, led by a team of prolific company builders and renowned explorers, including Dave Mathewson, who is directly responsible for several major Nevada gold discoveries. U.S. Gold Corp is well-capitalized and has an extremely tight share structure with less than 20 million shares outstanding and trades on the NASDAQ, a major exchange under the ticker symbol USAU. To learn more, go to usgoldcorp.gold. That's usgoldcorp.gold.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
It is, because there's different needs. There's, every family's a little different. And what their objectives are a little different. And that's why it's good to sit down with an advisor who asks you the hard questions, because it's those hard questions that most people don't want to face on a day-to-day basis that allows them to sleep. Because when you bring up that stuff and you address it, you put it in a plan, then you've taken it off the table, or at least you put it where you're monitoring it. And that's the key and you got to break things down into small pieces. You address certain items at a time, and you don't try to tackle this whole problem all at once. You break it into pieces, which is why most of the time when I'm building a financial plan with a client, it's not in one meeting, it's over several.
Mm-hmm. So it's a process that you go through. How long does it usually take you to devise a program for a client?
Typically, it's about 3 meetings.
3 meetings.
Before we have a final product. And then what we do with that product is we use that as our financial GPS. And that's what, when they come in for reviews, we pull that up, we look at it, and we monitor that against how the investments are doing, what their goals are, their expenditures, things like that. If they're travelers, then we build a travel budget into there. And we realistically set an amount. And asking these questions of people, a lot of people aren't used to that. Most of the time when people come to a financial advisor, they have a cookie cutter approach where they have them fill out a risk form. And then that risk form tells them they're in one of 5 categories. And then if they're in category 3, they've got a bunch of funds and an investment plan already set up for category 3, and they just kind of move them in there like in its assembly line. And if that's the kind of service they're getting from their financial advisor, they probably better look around.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So it's a highly personalized service. Do you use software to help put together the plan?
Yes, I do. I've got a pretty sophisticated planning software that I've been using for, I guess, about 7 years now. It works great.
And
but it's a moving target. It's a tool that's constantly being adjusted.
Hey, so what about Social Security and other changes? You track them as well, of course, right?
Yeah, because a plan should really begin with guaranteed income sources, whether you've got Social Security, whether you're one of those lucky ones with a pension, private or government. If you've got annuities set up that are going to give you a guaranteed income, you can include that. What happens is you figure out, what can I count on in most cases to always come in every month for the rest of my life? And then you figure out whether you have a surplus and a gap. And if you've got a gap, you figure out where you're going to get the money to fill that gap. And that's where market risk comes in, and why people need to adjust their risk for their age and for where they are in retirement. It's like required minimum distributions. If their broker if they ask their broker, where am I going to get my required minimum distributions? And he says, we're going to sell stocks to do that. We're going to take some of your growth and sell those to get your required minimum distribution. Then you need to second guess that and say, okay, maybe this guy was great for me when I was accumulating money, but he may not be good for me when I'm taking distributions, because the mindset between accumulation and distribution is different.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Well, of course, your goals change and your need for taking money out and taking it out at the right amount and at the right times. All of these things are really important, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And if you're selling shares to take a distribution, and you're selling shares in a down market, you're having to sell more shares than you did in an up market, which means that when the down market recovers, you're going to have less of a recovery because you ate more of the principal during that period. It's kind of like, do I want to set my investment plan up when I'm in retirement to living off the eggs the chicken lays, or am I going to eat the chicken?
Or the seed corn. Do you still
That's
growing
right.
crops, or are you eating the seed corn? And
that's exactly the same analogy.
That's a dilemma, right, no matter how you cut it. So the answer is there's no pat steady answers. Sometimes the answer could be that you need to move, sell your home, move to a lower cost locale to make your money last longer, especially if you can't work.
That's a good point. And then you have the variables that come into play. It's like flying an airplane. You don't just plot a course and fly it, because you got tailwinds, you got weather, you got temperature gradients, you got all kinds of issues that are going to cause that plane to veer off course, and you need to make sure it stays on course. But you need to make sure it stays on course on a regular basis, so that when you figure out you're off course, you're not way off course.
Right. Yeah. So, and like you say, it's a breathing, living document, like some say our U.S. Constitution is, others don't agree. But either way, you really have to be considering all these factors in putting together a plan. And as the old saying goes, if you're not planning to succeed, then you're planning to fail, right?
You're exactly right. And as people are interviewing financial advisors, they need to be asking not what's your average rate of return over the last few years, although that's important. They need to be asking, what's your process? When we become a client, how often are you going to meet with us? What are we going to talk about? What are the items you need for us to set up? What kind of plan are you going to put in place for us? And if they don't get satisfactory answers, then they're probably learning that that's not the right person for them to do their financial planning.
Great point. Hey, Brad, we want to find out more about you and connect with you. Where's the best place to find you on the web, and how do we connect with you?
Well, best thing is you can, if you've got a financial question, just ask bradwilliams.com.
All right. That's easy enough. AskBradWilliams.com. We'll have a link to it in the show notes of this interview. As always, don't forget, enter the contest. Last day, 7/14 at no later than 11:59 p.m. And you might just win. Well, if we get 1,000 entries, you could win 100 pre-1965 quarters. And right now, they're worth well over $100. Anyway, Brad, always great speaking with you. We will talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Kerry. It's always a pleasure being on the show.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.